Working with ultracapacitors can be very dangerous. It's easy to cause harm to yourself, other people, or your property. Please do your own research and work safely according to all safety guidelines. Hi, welcome back to the Gapster channel. I'm Gabby. It's going to be a very exciting video. We're going to talk about this monster of a power supply by Ian Canada. This is the UCPure Pro plus and minus 5 volt. So what's special about this new incarnation of the UCPure series? This is when Ian Canada went all the way, basically went to town to design this thing. It has 3 separate boards, so you put them together, but this way you don't need anything. It's all self-contained. The only wire you have is one little control wire from the middle to the board here. That's about it. It's got a massive terminal of a big, I've never seen such a big terminal on an electronic device. This is like super massive. And also massive fuses. These are very high-end automotive suite fuses, and they have very low ESR. What's great about this board also is the output comes straight from the ultracapacitor with the shortest path possible, with very thick copper in the board to also reduce ESR to the minimum. For those who don't know what ESR is, basically it's the internal resistance of the capacitor. The lower it is, the better. And these guys have one of the lowest ESR in the world of capacitors. And this is probably arguably one of the best power supply you can use to power small devices like something under 200 milliamps of usage. This could run for a long time, hours, and you can also charge it from, it automatically charges, and the beauty of it is when it disconnects, it's just purely running on the capacitors only. You're not connected to the grid in any form. So, and that's what's really nice about it. Another feature for this Pro version also is there's a feature in this previous UCPure Mark III is you can, for example, if you're running a DAC, you can charge between songs, and that keeps them topped up all the time. We'll get back to that in a minute, but let's carry on the new features here. Some of the other features is there's a tight tolerance. Now you can have a jumper where you can actually reduce the tolerance between the high and low, because as you use the ultracapacitor, you're draining the capacitor, the voltage dips a tiny bit, but you can decide that you want a much narrower margin, and this way you're not going to get big sags in your voltage, so the capacitor will charge a little bit sooner, basically. So that's another feature. Another thing is this ultracapacitor is very slim, and you can actually stack a couple of those on top of each other. Even though they're massive in size, the height is slim. So 2 of these can fit in a case, which is very handy, especially if you're always running with that problem when you start using multiple boards of these. Another feature is this can charge with 7.8 amps, and I did actually charge it with 8 amps, and the diodes got quite hot, but they stayed within the tolerance limit without any problems. And you can get some really fast charges at 8 amps. It took me for like empty to full, usually takes an hour. It took me about 20 minutes to charge these. Now often when you're charging these, you don't have to charge from empty. Often just a minute or 2 is all you need to charge the ultracapacitor. They always have a bit of fairly good charge, and only that one time when you're still brand new and you want to charge them fully, it takes that much time. Another more feature, and he's got some nice holding brackets, so you can actually mount these securely to the case. This is very important safety feature, is to mount those securely to a case. And you can also mount them to each other, which is another great feature. The UCPure Pro comes with a few versions. This one can be configured to 3 volt, 5 volt, and plus and minus 5 volt. Now remember, the 3 volt and the 5 volt are not they're not dual, they're just one 3.3 volt and one 5 volt, and also the plus and minus 5 volt. You can also get this in the configuration of 12 volt, and but it's a whole different setup. You have to order it and specify you want the 12 volt version. If you are using the 12 volt version, make sure you use 3 volt supercapacitors, otherwise you're going to exceed the rating of the capacitors and something bad is going to happen. And also remember too that you will be working at the very upper limit of those ultracapacitors. So what can you use the UCPure Pro plus and minus 5 volt for? This is a perfect example right here behind me. I'm using it for my Gapster TD1 DAC to supply the plus 5 and minus 5 volt. And so that's like one of your typical scenario for that, or any appliance or device that you're using that requires plus 5 and minus 5 volts. This would be one of the perfect power supply for it. So perfect actually, this probably would be considered one of the best power supplies in the world right now. Now this price of the UCPure Pro, the plus and minus 5 volt is going to be $379 US. And this does not include the ultra capacitors. Each one of these is about $100 US. So that's 400 US plus 375, you're roughly around 800 plus taxes and all that stuff. And you're still probably going to need a power supply, so maybe a transformer, a little case here and there. So you're looking roughly about $1,000 to get a fully built system up and running. So this is not for the cheap DIY, this is an upper high-end DIY project. On Ian Canada's website, where you can actually buy this power supply, and by the way, I am not affiliated with Ian Canada in any way or form, nor do I get any commission or kickbacks when you buy anything. Just here, just to explain to you guys how to use this. I've been using his parts for many years now. That's how I started my DIY journey. I like his products and they make more sense to me, and with his parts I was able to build something that I would never be able to buy on the market for any price range. So you can get a link on where you can buy this from his link, but you'll have to buy the capacitor separately, and you also have to buy the transformer separately, and maybe a case to go with it. But you can get the link from there. But on this site, if you go, you'll see in the manual, he also talk about a whole different how to assemble this power supply step by step. There's some beautiful pictures on how to do that. Now, if you want to watch me how I assemble this power supply, in the next little bit, you're going to see all the details on how I assemble it. I'm going to make it quick, so it's not going to drag too long. I urge you to watch it because there's some things you cannot see in pictures. It's different when you see someone live actually building it. Assembling the UCPure Pro is very easy. All you have to do is lay out your boards on your table. You got the 3 main boards for the that's going to hold your ultracapacitors. So you're going to need 4 ultracapacitors for this project, and you got your screws, the caps, and a couple of wires. So that's pretty much it. Tools you're going to need: a wrench, 18 millimeter wrench, or maybe some crescent wrench, and a Phillips screwdriver. That's pretty much it. It's very, very easy. It's almost like child play, but there's very important thing is this is not a child matter. You really need to be very attentive, because if you reverse any of the polarities, you might end up with some problems. So watch very carefully to the plus and minus and make sure that they correspond. So you can see here there's a plus. So you're going to put plus here. But before you get excited and start putting capacitors in, you need to put washers on all the threads. I got all the washers on. So next thing, we're just going to put the main board aside for a second. We're going to separate those a little bit. And what you're going to do is just you're going to hold this with the way you enter the wires towards the top. So it's going to be this way. Next, you're going to look at your polarities. We have a minus, so we're going to put the minus here. Next, we will be a plus, so we're going to find the plus. And then a minus, and then a plus. And the other side is just a matter of making sure that this is facing up, and then it says out means that's towards out, and this towards the UCPure Pro, so that's going to be towards this way. And we're just going to line up all the capacitors here. Simple as that. Next, you're going to put your... I usually start by putting them a little bit loose, because just so you can still move things around, and we'll talk about why. So we're going to put all 8 washers in. And there we go. Keep it loose. Next thing, you're going to look at the safety valves. Remember we talked about once about the safety valves, that little tiny flat little surface on each capacitor. This is in case of an accident where the plumes of smoke and chemicals are going to be shooting out, so you don't want that pointing up. So anywhere but up will do. With the UCPure Pro, there's a tiny little space underneath, so you can put them down. That's fine. And remember, the flat spot don't always correspond to the same lettering. These are being just covered just any way they can. For example, the flat spot happens to be here in this one, so we're just going to put it down this way. And just a matter of finding them all and orienting them in the right orientation. There we go. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to start tightening the screws by hand, so just as much as you can, and then you're going to tighten them up. And then after that, you're going to tighten them with your wrench. Now, it's important to keep this, the UCPure Pro system all flat on a flat surface, because you don't want it to be rocking and to be out of kilter. So you want it to be flat, so you always keep your hand on it, and you slight tightening a little bit each. At the beginning, you tighten them a little bit, so don't go too crazy at the beginning, because you want to make sure everything is falling into place. And once they're all pretty much tightened, just make sure that it's not rocking, that it's stable. And after that, you're just going to grab those safety caps. The job of these is not to have prongs that are exposed, so basically just in case you bang it somewhere metallic that you're not going to short anything. It's not a foolproof, but it's just another layer of safety. And while you're putting the caps on, it's another chance to double check that the poles are correct, that the positive is on the positive and negative on negative. I usually use black for the negative ones and white for the positive one, just to identify things easier. So now we've got the capacitors all assembled. Now what we're going to do is add the power board, and that's going to be this board here, and that's going to go on top. Now this one is simple. There are 3 screws opening here and basically 2 slots here. Same here, there's 2 and 3, so it's easy not to mix it up. So all you have to do is put the 3 on 3, 2 on 2, and Ian gives us, there's a bag here where there's 5 screws in there, so we're going to put the screws right in here. What you're going to do is you're going to keep the screws a little loose to make sure everything is lining up properly. Once you've got them all in, then you start tightening. You can tighten the where it's there's 3 of them first, and because the other side they have a little slot, so they're a bit more forgiving. These are the ones that need to be right in the exact position, and then you tighten the one with where the pair, and it's almost done. We just have to put in one connector wire. So your connector wire is going to go right from the middle here. There's only one, so you can't go wrong. And it goes into J16 on the board here. It's called Control J16. And that's it. Basically, you've got it all assembled, and congratulations. Now, the beauty about these is they can stack on top of each other just like that. And you can actually connect them here because you got support brackets to connect them together. And the other beauty is if you have a case like one of these, I'll put a link for this case. I've actually looked for months to find a case like that. You could see the height is perfect for storing a double stack of these. So you can actually put 2 stacks on top of each other, and that's going to save you quite a bit of space in there. So when you have so many capacitors, managing the space is one of the most critical things that you're going to encounter. And trying to find room for all your capacitors and your board is going to be the challenge. So a case like this can store basically a stack of 4, so you can either have, so one stack here, one stack here, so you'll put basically, if you need 4, you'll have 4. You still have a bit of room at the front here to put other things. So you'll have to use your own, depend on your project and what you're trying to do. But I mean, that is the downfall of this type of system, is that the sheer size, I mean, these are big, so they don't underestimate the size of these things. Now, for those who want to know the actual size, so let's actually check them out and check the size exactly to how much it is. So if we look at the exact size of the boards, so for people who want to see how much room they need, so 29 by 19 centimeters. And in inches, you're looking about, basically, you can just convert that, you're looking about roughly 8 inches, 7.5 inches by 11.5 inches. Now if we stack 2 on top of each other, and just put them like that, the height becomes also a factor. So the case here, for example, if we look at the case here that we have, this case is 5.5 basically. So you just have a barely enough room to put the cover on, and that's it. So you can see here, if you put the lid on, you have about, I say, 1/4 of an inch of space. I also would like to mention that Ian Canada makes a device called UC Dumper. It's basically a bunch of resistors with a heatsink. And it's very handy if you want to empty your your supercapacitors. And so all you have to do is you just plug in a cable here, and this one goes into J10 here on the device. Also, if you are building a new ultracapacitors, make sure that they are empty, that they are new. Usually new ones are empty. If they are not new, you've used them for something else, I would suggest you empty your ultracapacitors before you actually assemble a new device. This comes handy, for example, you decide to switch from 5 volt to 3 volt and you want to reduce down a little bit, or let's say you want to ship some. You're not supposed to ship them with any charge on them. If you are shipping them, you empty them completely. You can also supplies a little on-off switch if you'd like to buy one of those. It's pretty handy. You basically connect it from the switch itself, and you connect it to the external on-off plug right here. When you first connect the UCPure Pro to power, I'm using actually a 12 volt AC here, right away start checking voltages to make sure that things are charging properly and that the polarity is good. So we have plus and minus here, so we should be having a positive voltage. We have 315 millivolts. The next one will be in reverse, because that's negative, that's positive. And we can see here we have 330 millivolts as well. Now this process should take some time, could take anywhere between 15 minutes to an hour, because they're completely empty. And we'll see actually how long it takes. From time to time, just keep checking again the voltages just to be sure that everything is correct. Just gonna put this actually here so you guys can see it even better. So let's check again. So we got, now you can see that it's climbing. Now we got about half a volt here. This should be in reverse. Half a volt there. Same thing here. And same thing here. So that tells us that the that the board is functioning correctly. Never assume anything is functioning correctly. Things could be wrong. Things could be the way they got assembled. Something could have bumped into something and things got trashed. You never know. Now notice how this is enclosed in a metal container, and it actually fits perfectly. This is a metal container from Mauser that I got, and it fits really well. And this is actually the lid of it. It just goes like this. I'm not going to put it in now because I don't like putting things on while they're actually working. But you shouldn't, I'll have them open here just for you guys so you can see. But once everybody's, I'm not doing a video, all these lids will get closed and everything will stay contained inside. Now for the 12 volt AC, it's coming down from a box below because I didn't want to clutter the space there. And you could see the transformer is housed into a metal casing. It's got a switch on here and there's a fuse as well for safety. Everything is controlled, especially a high voltage. You have to absolutely have it all contained. You cannot have it open. But I'm going to open up a little bit for you just to show you how it's assembled inside. So here you can see the inside of the box. So I'm using here one of Mauser's medical grade capacitors. This particular one is not functioning. I just have it capped. It's important to cap the terminals so no accidents can happen and things can short. Now if things do short, there is a fuse right here, so that's important. And if you're doing this on a permanent basis, I would put a fuse on every AC line as well. If you recall my video where I built the D11, and the D11 is actually just sitting right here. Remember this guy? So this is where we did all the fuses on the back. Here you can see all the fuses on the back. Every AC line has a fuse. Now for this particular purpose, we're going to parallel both output lines together. So we get the maximum, basically, I believe it's 8 amps. So only in this particular transformer, your transformer might be different. This one we're putting the yellow and red together, the black and orange together to parallel the two 12 volt lines. These has to be in phase. If you flip them around, you'll get a spark. You're going to short something. Just make sure you follow your technical specifications and your schematics. Otherwise, you're going to have a short somewhere. So make sure you put them properly in phase because they can be 12 volt, but if you go 12 volts the other way, the phase will be off and you'll get a short. Now that I'm done showing you guys, I put the lid back on so it's all covered again, and we are still charging the UCPure Pro here. So let's see where we're at in our voltages. So it's been roughly about 10 minutes. Let's see roughly, let's see where we're at right now. We're at 1.6 volts. So that's, by the looks of it, if things go the same way, about 20 minutes and those capacitors will be charged. When the board is running at such high amperage, it's going to get hot. So I'm going to grab here my handy dandy thermal imager. We're just going to take a little snap. You could see how the diodes here are getting quite hot, and there's a couple components also. Let's see how they're doing. So here you can see that there's a couple diodes that are getting super hot. It's 174 Fahrenheit. The rest of the board is 137. So that, even though they look, blazing hot, they're still working within their normal limit, maybe a little bit on the upper side here, but that should be fine. For those of you who are in Celsius, that's roughly around 78 degrees Celsius. Now bear in mind, this is only because we're charging the entire capacitors from empty. Most of the time, those diodes will only work for a short period of time, and that's not going to be affecting their longevity. After roughly about 20 minutes, the blue light came on, which means the board is running in pure mode, and I did check each cell to double check, 2.55. And this should be a negative because I'm in the reverse. And last thing we're gonna do is check the voltage on the output. We have here plus 5.06. This should be a negative 5.11, so fairly close. Now you have to give those a little bit of time. They will balance out, takes a bit of time to settle down, but that's, even now they're fairly close, and that's normal. And here it is, UCPure Pro plus and minus 5 volt powering the Gapster TD1 DAC. And this is perfect application for it. So it's just provides some nice pure plus and minus 5 volt voltage. In the corner here, I'm going to put a link about my Gapster TD1 DAC. This has probably been the best DAC I've ever heard in my life. And in this other corner, I'm going to put a link where I tested actually 10 different power supplies for Ripple. And among them, there was a couple of Ian Canada's products in there that fared really well. And especially the ultracapacitors ended up being some of the best ones. So you might want to check that out. There'll be a speaker in the middle. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, that would really help me out if you do that. And I also have a Patreon link in the description below. It will help me buy different things so I can always talk about different products on the channel. I hope to see you again, so take care, and hope to see you in another video. Take care.